Hey everybody, I've been really interested to watch the whole goings on with Glenn Beck and the rally that he did last week and all of that. And there's a lot of people that are really behind that guy. And he's really become a preacher in a lot of ways and really rallying people behind God, whatever that means to people. But here's what I want to just sort of wonder out loud before you here on the blog is, I'm wondering if we aren't sort of falling for an old trap in our thinking, and that's called syncretism. Syncretism is essentially a philosophy whereby you maintain your faith in God, but you widen the tent to include other faiths and expressions and so on, to the point where it waters down what you believe. And so, in other words, it's not so much about contending for the faith once for all delivered to the saints. It's about, well, let's rally around this idea of God being the center of our nation, and so on. Well, listen, I believe we can lose, and maybe even lose our gospel edge, the power of God unto salvation to those who believe. But listen, there's another danger that happens and is common for Christians to fall into, and that's sectarianism. That is, we remove ourselves from culture, we take ourselves out of society, we just cluster in our own little groups, and thus we do not have an effect on the culture. And so I don't know if you remember back in the 80s and 90s, this was real big, big philosophy back then, and I'm still impacted by it and trying to get free from some of that. But hell's bells, you remember that teaching where it said rock and roll is, basically the source of all evil? And so if you listen, I kid you not, this was on this video, if you listen to Journey too much, Steve Perry and those guys, your kids are in danger of going to hell. Seriously. And so this idea of, don't get near those worldly people because, it'll get on you, that kind of a thing. Well, listen, in the Bible, Jesus said this. He said, even as the Father has sent me into the world, so I send you into the world. Hear that, Christians? We are to go into the world. Now, the Apostle Paul qualified that. He said, go into the world, but don't be of the world. So in other words, we are kingdom people living this eternal kingdom life in the midst of our city, of our mission field. And there's a word that's become popular today, and I'm a fan of this word. It's called missional. That is, we are to live missionally amongst our culture. We are to love our city, we're to love its people, and we're to bring the expression of the gospel to the people of our city where we live. And so what that means to you, Christian, is that as you go to work and you are among those co-workers, if you don't have opportunity maybe at the workplace to be able to talk about marriage and family and the gospel, and you get invited out after work for drinks, if your conscience allows you, have that beer or that glass of wine or whatever with those folks for the purpose of connecting with them in order to share the Lord and to love them and express the love of Christ to them. Now, of course, if you're the type of person that you shouldn't take a drink because you'll wake up the next day with a tattoo on your forehead or something, then obviously don't. But go out and have a Coke with them and win them for Christ. That's why we're here, folks. We're here to love our city and its people and to share Jesus with them. And there's so many ways we can do that. But listen, don't lose the gospel edge, and be a person who seeks in ways to serve and love and share with the people of our city.